Hello everybody and welcome back to Juno New Origins, where we are currently ready to launch this fat boy, and we are definitely going to do that. We'll need to set up our timing a bit more correctly, and we know that this will make it into orbit. We just need to be a little bit more efficient with our ascent trajectory. And I mean, it would have made it into orbit anyway, but it definitely wasn't the most efficient thing in the world. So let's put this out at the DSC launch pad for right now. And this is still going to be net profitable for us, so that's great. The real question is, can we get the contracts working? Well, probably not, but we'll get this solved via save game editing if we have to. So we know exactly what we need to do. We need to launch, we need to rendezvous with the station, and we need to dock it, and we need to deorbit, right? That's all we need to do there. So let's put this over at a 70-degree pitch, and then let's set this to a 60-degree heading. But this timing is not correct. So actually, the next will be a southward heading. So we need to be at a 120-degree heading here, because we'll be launching southward. Okay, so that is fine. Let's go ahead and warp forward here until such a time as we are in position for this launch. Okay, so it's going to be something kind of like that for the timing. It's not going to be perfect, but it will do. Let's go ahead and launch this. And off we go. We do have these engines taking over expansion damage. That's expected. They're going to get to about 2.1. It's not a big deal. So that'll be fine, and we're just going to hold attitude here for now. I'm going to move us into orbital mode. There we go. And let's just bring this prograde on over. I'm going to drop our apoapsis. Because we're launching in an inclined manner, I'm not going to lock to prograde. We'll just do this manually. So we're going to drop this down to 45 kilometers once we are at about a 20-ish kilometer apoapsis. Although I'm noting that we're naturally sitting a little lower than we should be. So I'm going to hold this until 25 kilometer. Then we're going to drop it. Okay, so down we go to a 45-degree target pitch. Let's see how we're doing on our SRB fuel. Let's hold here for the time being. 35 kilometer apoapsis. Now 40. 45 kilometers on the apoapsis. Okay, 55. I'm going to drop our nose again now that we're at 60. I'm going to take this down to about 15. And our SRBs are definitely starting to throttle down, right? They're ramping down at this point, but our thrust to weight is still very solid. So we're going to hold attitude here. Apoapsis is 80. 3% fuel left. Okay. Down to a 10-degree pitch. SRBs are gone. Okay, so the next stage is that we're going to need to ditch our fairing. We're a little too low in the atmosphere for that, I think, right now, although we're basically at a good point for it now. Goodbye, fairing. Excellent. 100 kilometers on the apoapsis. That's not too bad. I'm looking at our orbital velocity and our stage DV. We're going to lose a little bit to atmospheric drag still, but it's not going to be a whole lot. So let's continue to burn here until our apoapsis is perhaps like 110? Maybe even like 120. Yeah, I think we need to continue to burn at this moment. I'm looking at our time to apoapsis. It's going up, so that is a good sign. We have 15% fuel left here, but we know that we're going to need a fair amount of additional orbital velocity, right? So let's just take this up to 120. Okay, engine cut off. And now we are going to, at the apoapsis, look to burn something like this. Now, how much of this is going to be burned from this main tank here? 731, 492. So this is going to be about 230. Seems acceptable. Okay, let's go ahead and do that. We should also extend our solar panels. Note that we're not running monoprop right now. It's not necessary at this time. Okay, so we're lit up here, and we're going to be firing up these engines as soon as we're out of fuel, which will be about 10 seconds. So this delivers us very, very, very nearly to orbital velocity. It's not quite there. We could definitely tune that up a little bit and have it take us the rest of the way, but it does not matter. So we can just burn here and get that last little bit of kick into orbit. We've got more than enough DV for this. So that seems fine. Now we do have the habitation module here. But if we updated this, it's going to instantly fail, I believe. So once we get into orbit, I'm going to quick save. Or maybe just regular save. Maybe just regular save. We'll see. So you can see here, we're going off axis because our thrust to weight is quite low here. That's understood. This section is going to be a little less efficient, but it shouldn't matter because all we need is like 150 meters per second here. So you can see that this burn time, it's going to be a little long. This is not the most efficient segment of this launch, but it'll do the trick. We just need about another 100 meters per second to get into orbit. Yeah. Now that periapsis is raising on up, and we can see 20 kilometers, 30, 40, and you can see this is definitely a little off. That's understood. Low accuracy, but it doesn't matter. We're now officially in orbit, and the rest of this burn is kind of irrelevant. We'll finish it, but yeah, it doesn't matter. So yeah, you can see we're a little bit eccentric in this. That's to be expected. Okay, let's make a regular save at this point. So I'm going to save this flight. We're not going to be able to undo it from here. So we'll save and exit. And then we're going to resume that flight. And you might ask, why are we doing it that way? Well, the answer is, and first off, I'm wondering if the issue is this -292 here. Hang on. Let's see if that's the issue. Let's rename this craft. So if I recall correctly, we would need to go to... How do we rename the craft in this game? I've forgotten. Hang on. I know there's a way to do this. Ah, yes. So let's rename that to just Spaceport Esperanza. Now, what I want to do is I want to save this flight. Save and exit. There we go. Now I want to resume this flight. And let's see if we can assign this. Click the button to update it, but the button is not there. Okay. Well, we can always manually do this in the save game. It's not that big of a deal, but we're going to need to target the spaceport. It also, this might fix if I restart the game. I don't know. It also might have fixed if I changed the name and then relaunched this. I'm not going to bother with that. So at this point, we would look to get ourselves a bit of a rendezvous here, right? And this timing is abysmal. So we're going to need to take at least a few orbits, and let's go ahead and get rid of this. There we go. And let's warp here. Okay, so there's one orbit around, and let's see what this might end up looking like. Yeah, this timing is still quite bad. We're going to have to take a number of orbits, I think. This is looking a lot better, actually. Yeah, it's going to have to change the timing on it, but this is pretty decent here. Okay, so that's going to be a 15-kilometer approach. Noted. That's about 10 kilometers. And what is our overall inclination? Okay, let's see about... What is our ascending and descending node? Okay, it's basically identical to this point. So if we burn here, we can dial this in, but we can also change up that inclination a little bit. So it would end up being something like that, sure. But also, we could get this up to that 30-degree inclination. at basically the exact same time. So something kind of like that, and then this is 77.9 kilometers here. We can dial that in a little bit. Let's turn the sensitivity down quite a lot. That's like 7 kilometers. Okay, so yeah, this is pretty decent here. I'm not upset at all about that encounter. Let's go ahead and run this. That'll be fine. So we're just going to bring this in, and if I have to manually do this, it's fine. I will. We've done that a bunch of times with the Spaceport Esperanza. It seems like these contracts are extremely fragile, so we will see. Okay, how's this burn going? It's about a 45-second burn, not too bad. And we're going to have lots and lots of fuel left over for this. You can see we've got 1.7 kilometers per second in this. No issue whatsoever there. And as far as the docking goes, this should be a very simple docking procedure. I'm planning on docking this inline, so it should be no issue whatsoever there. We'll just be able to point and line it up and get the docking complete. Okay, so we're about 75% done with this burn at this point. 6.91 kilometers is our estimated approach. Let's see what our actual approach ends up being. 5 seconds to go. $7.68. Okay, we can dial that in. So let's go ahead and warp to about here. There we go. And let's move into target mode. I want to go to target retrograde for right now. And where is the target? There it is, about 24 kilometers out at this juncture. Okay, so we're going to be positioning ourselves out over this direction approximately. This isn't exactly where we want to be. Our gyroscope is a little bit funky, but this will be fine. So somewhere around there, and let's just keep an eye on this. We're just pushing these nodes together. Cool. So that's about 6 kilometers of separation. Just changing our angling a little bit here. 4 kilometers of separation. 3, 2, 1 kilometer of separation. Okay, throttling us way, way down here as we continue to work on this. Now, we're still 75 meters per second apart. We're going to have to do a pretty big braking burn. But let's bring this down to about 100 meters of distance. That'll do. Now, let's put ourselves at velocity retrograde. And this is going to drift apart. That is absolutely understood. Let's warp in to about here. Okay. So we're 74 meters per second apart right now, and our closest approach will be 100 meters. So we're going to definitely need to dial this down a little bit. Okay. So let's just slow this down. And how far are we right now? We're about 5 kilometers. Okay. So we're not braking like super hard right now. We're about 60 meters per second apart and 5 kilometers apart. So this looks okay for the moment. 4.5 kilometers. And just continuing to gently brake right now. Down to 50 meters per second. And we're about 4 kilometers away. Everything is looking good here. 3.5 kilometers apart, 40 meters per second. Yeah, this timing is looking absolutely okay. This is going to start going up. Okay, cutting throttle. We're going to coast in a little bit. And let's coast into about here. Just a few seconds. Continuing to burn at somewhere around 1/3 thrust. Should be fine. How are we doing? Going up. Okay, that's probably fine for the moment. Let's take this down to about 20 meters per second of separation. There we go. Okay. So we're under a kilometer away at this time. I'm letting us coast in a bit, but I absolutely do want to start braking again. Back up to about 1/3 thrust. 15 meters per second. Okay, down to about 10 meters per second. Cutting throttle again. And we're going to coast in just a little bit. We're going to go down to 5 meters per second pretty soon. I think once we're under like 500 meters apart. And I'm also going to lock to this position rather than just sticking on the retrograde marker. And let's break this down to about 5 meters per second. We're at 9 right now. I'd like to move our angling up over this way. So a slight corrective burn here. This is down to about 5 meters per second now. So let's coast this. How are we doing? 26.4 meters. Okay, let's lock velocity back onto retrograde. And let's let this coast right on in. What's our angling look like? This looks clear. No issue. Beautiful. So we're at 5 meters per second, and let's just let this coast right on in. I'm thinking we're going to attach this probably at this end, but it doesn't really matter where we want to attach it. Okay, so we're about 90 meters apart right now. We should probably start braking pretty soon here. I'm going to brake at just 10% thrust. 4 meters per second. 3 meters per second. I'm up to 20% thrust right now. And... okay. We're at basically 0, but we need to keep burning for a moment here. I'm just at 1% thrust right now. Went up to 2. Anytime now. There. Engine cut. Okay, so that looks good. And next we need to figure out where we want to dock this thing. I'm thinking that is not a docking port. We could dock it here. That's a theoretical option. In fact, it's a kind of good option. We're very, very close to it. So to that end, we know that we're going to have some potential issues here, right? So we can select this guy. We can set this as our target over here. And then we'd want to point this at that or this. I'm thinking we point this right now. So choose that end. Our current directionality is up here. Well, this is our current pointing directionality. We're basically pointing prograde. So I would like to continue to point prograde. And we'll have our pitch be here. Wait, this is the direction we're pointing, isn't it? It is. Okay, so let's point this around at retrograde then. There we go. And then we're going to need to change our roll to mostly line this up. Or rather, this is going to be our yaw, isn't it? We're going to want to line this up in such a way that this heading is approximately here, 250 degrees or so. It doesn't have to be perfect, just good enough. Okay, so let's get this angled. This is going to be a whole thing, but luckily we have a lot of movement freedom with this, so this should not be an issue in the slightest. Okay, I'm going to do that for our orientation. Now, what I'm going to do is I want to start a roll here. And the question is, which direction do we need to roll? I don't know. Not this one. It's the opposite direction. So we need to roll this way. And we just need to get this roughly lined up. It doesn't have to be perfect, just good enough. Okay, we're definitely drifting a bit here as we try to roll. Our yaw and our pitch are drifting. This is not surprising. but it is somewhat saddening. Okay, so from this angle, we can see pretty well where we're going to need to be. Okay, somewhere around here should be good. So I'm just going to hold attitude there. Looks good. And now what I want to do is I want to pitch this up a little bit, around 10 degrees. There. About like that. Now we hold attitude there, and the command disk should be pointing at target. Please don't spin. Stop it. You good? I think we're good. Okay, so now we can see that that spin definitely caused our angling to mess up a little bit. So to that end, what do we want to do? What is this doing? Why is this trying to point like this? I don't think I told it to do that. Bring this around. Point it like this. There you go. That's not exactly the way I wanted it to point, though. I want it to point like this. There you go. It seems to like to try to reset it. Okay, now we're going to have to roll again a little bit. And yeah, we have drifted somewhat. That's to be expected. Our roll is... This is not rolling. This is yawing in a really strange way. Okay. Please get that under control. Thank you. Now what we need to do is we need to roll this. And why are you behaving like this? This is not... This is not roll. Hang on. Okay, now... It's because we have two separate control modules here. Okay. So that's what's happening here. That's a really weird way to handle how the station works. It's a really weird way to handle it. Okay, let's take this up to 2x and let's get some roll going here. We just need to get this approximately lined up. There. Holding it like that. Now, what I'd like to do is I'd like to nose this down a little bit. Yeah, approximately like that. Okay, no, don't do this. Just be about there. I'd like to roll this a little bit further. It's getting very awkward here. Other way. Roll it the other way, please. Okay. Now we're probably going to need to do a bit of a get closer burn, I'm thinking. Okay. So let's do that. And I'd like to just take control here. Okay, we'll do it this way, rather than trying to go through the different command pods. So let's lock to target, and I'd like to get a little closer here. We're drifting apart, and I would definitely like to get this a little under control. So let's look at target mode here, and we can see our target point. Okay, we're going to need to be a bit up over this direction. There we go. Little bit of correction done there. We're now trending in approximately the correct direction. Now we're going to need to head in towards target a little bit here. Do a little bit of corrective burn here. Okay, something like that. That's 2 meters per second. And now we want to lock to velocity retrograde, because we're going to need to break this on the way in. Okay, overshooting. Very heavily overshooting. Can we not? Thank you. Okay. We're just reducing our overall velocity. Now I want to be pointed at target. So we're going to head over here, and we're going to try to do our steering via RCS as we're heading in. So we can see that we're a little off right now, and yeah, this poor reaction wheel trying to deal with this huge mass up here. Absolutely hilarious. Let's use monoprop, and we're going to monoprop our way to correcting our overall velocity about like that. Looks decent. And you can tell our angling's a little bit off, but I think magnetic forces will likely solve that. That's the hope, anyway. Okay, we're in good angle. We definitely have magnetic forces happening here. Okay, now we need to change our overall angling. So pushing ourselves this way is good. It's exactly what we want to be doing. Okay. RCS is trying to hold our angle. It's a little awkward, but this looks like a good angle here, potentially. Hold. And we're docked. Okay, beautiful. So we're docked right now. It is dark, but we are docked, and we're ready to finish the contract. So what we need to do right now, of course, is we need to activate the this thing, the habitation module deployer. We need to activate this. Okay, let's just lock this current heading. Thank you very much. Let's try to not be constantly tumbling, but we need to get this deorbited. We are going to have to get the contract updated. I'm going to do that off camera in between episodes, so we can do that soon enough. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including ALS Gamer, Atala, Andy Magar, Ali Lee, Dark Horse, Xenocyte, Hiro Marutsu, Upper Cumberland Gamers, Nick Smarty, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, The Lounge STL, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time.